Welcome, one and all, to the Green Roots Gaming studio apartment for today's presentation of Tastefully Nerd Sports.
The show about the nerdy side of sports and the sporty side of nerds.
They call me Green.
And they call me Gonzo.
And we call this episode
Halloween World Series Spooktacular.
Game on. First, I'd like to wish a belated Happy Halloween to all of our listeners. This episode unfortunately did not make it out on time, but at least we got some World Series action instead. But before we get to that, Gonzo, what have you been nerding about this week?
Alright, I've been nerding out a little bit about movies. So I never got to do my review on The Joker. So I'm going to do a little bit about that. But I also watched a movie yesterday that I never watched, Need for Speed, for all my fans who love the Need for Speed games and have never seen the movie or thought the movie might be bad and just didn't want to do it. It was really good. It really sang home to me from the Need for Speed Most Wanted game. It really followed that, and I really liked it. I really enjoyed it.
I thought the trailers looked like cheap Fast and the Furious knockoff, to be honest.
Which, I mean, for the most part, it kind of is, but at the same time, Fast and Furious became its own cheap knockoff version of itself, so...
Yeah, true. Well, Fast and Furious became a franchise that used to be about stealing DVDs from a truck while the truck was driving, which was enough, like, high-stakes edge to work in 1999 or whenever it came out. Yeah. And it's now since transformed into superheroes that...
Superheroes
just
in action.
Normal guys, but apparently
boom, explosions. Yeah. That's all it is now, but so, it's okay.
So Need for Speed, fun throwback video game movie.
Good, solid movie. Really, hits all the points I would want them to speak home to the game. But yeah, it was enjoyable. I liked it.
Okay.
But on to the Joker. So I really, really enjoyed the Joker. The reviews really do it justice. It was a fantastic film in and of itself, and not really something you would write home about, a superhero movie type of thing, because it's not. It's just, kind of a piece, an origin story piece. And it really, for anybody who's, watching it for the first time, it's gonna hold up the first time, but I don't think it's gonna hold up for, more watches.
It's not to say repeat viewing type of film.
Yeah.
Is there like particular plot holes that might?
No.
Or is it just kind of like once you know how it turns out?
Yeah, it's all build up, because it's gonna be a build up of somebody eventually gonna go crazy and do something, and you like to see it the first time and how it all leads. But once you know where it's gonna go, it's probably not gonna hold up. Keep going. But I really enjoyed it. I liked how they tied in this origin of the Joker, because there is no set origin for the Joker.
Yeah, there's not a definitive origin for the character. It changes from media to media, from version to version.
Yeah, and it's a good piece, and it does speak really good about mental illness. The one thing I don't like about it is because Joker fans, I believe, people who are just fans of the Joker by themselves,
like that's the character.
Yeah, are gonna kind of run with that, and I feel like it's gonna be kind of a bad look on people with mental illness, and that it gives them a reason to be shitty.
Yeah. Do you mean it gives people with mental illness an excuse? Or
No.
It gives people a reason to be shitty to people who suffer or deal with.
No, it gives people who want to write off their own shitty behavior as mental illness. That's what I believe.
Okay.
But I've seen posts about people saying man, after seeing the Joker movie, it really speaks home to mental illness, and this is something that could happen to everybody. It's not a thing that anybody with mental illness could go down this wrong path and become this kind of criminal mastermind, because that's where it's gonna go. People don't really realize, you should feel sympathetic for this character in this movie because a lot of shitty things happen to him, but it's not a justification for...
It's not a justification for his actions.
For his actions thereafter, and it's just like, oh man, this dude snapped, and I am with it, I justified from that, and that's where I feel
kind of like how not to get too serious on this goofy sports podcast.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like how a lot of people who are abusers were abused themselves, but it doesn't excuse their action.
Yeah,
behavior.
exactly.
Okay.
Other than that, great. I feel like people are going to enjoy the movie. It's going to shed some light on, a lot of things that people don't normally think about.
Well, a common excuse or origin story, I guess, for villains is to say that they're disturbed.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? That means that they have a debilitating condition. And by nature, being a villain, you are vilifying that person for that condition. And it's both an easy trope to sort of establish motive for your characters, but it also can work as, say, perhaps a window into that mindset.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yes, definitely great movie. Definitely recommend. You should go see it. So, what are you nerding out about this week, Green?
I was nerding about two different things. First, I was nerding out about the first half of the final season of BoJack Horseman on Netflix. An excellent animated cartoon show for adults. So if you are an adult, I highly recommend you watch the entire series. It does have several similarities to the Joker from your description, in that mental illness, most noticeably like depression and psychosis and things like that, and addiction issues pop up a lot, and coupled with abusive behaviors, backgrounds, tends to be used by characters in this show for justification for their current bad behavior. And the show tends to point out that, that is not an excuse. That might be a barrier.
Yeah.
But it's not, an insurmountable obstacle.
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing I've been nerding out about is Halloween.
Of course. It's all about the Spooktacular.
Yes, this is our annual Spooktacular. I'm a big fan of Halloween. I didn't get to decorate the place much this year, between being busy with Baby Green and my job and various things, various responsibilities. Although when I was cleaning up the other day, I did find several plastic spiders that a friend of mine had hid, a friend of ours actually, shout out to Parker, had hid throughout my apartment for last year's Halloween party.
Okay.
So even when I didn't get to decorate, still had a few decorations. This was my first Halloween with the whole family, Lady Green and Baby Green. And initially it turned out we all ended up having to work on Halloween, but we were going to try and go out. It was this Thursday. And we had a magic school bus theme. Sam, my wife, was going to go as Miss Frizzle, and Baby was going to be Liz the Lizard, and I was going to convert a Transformers costume into a school bus and go as the magic school bus itself.
Nice.
Again, didn't work out. I did have a backup costume, though. I actually went to a good friend of mine's wedding. It was earlier in October, and every year they used to do a big Halloween party. It was a big shindig they'd throw. This year they didn't do that because they're getting married, but they made their wedding Halloween themed.
Okay.
So it sort of served as the Halloween party.
Yeah.
And I felt, you know what, maybe going as a school bus would not, especially because, unfortunately, Baby wasn't feeling well. So I was going to be going by myself. Maybe just going as a school bus to a wedding wasn't a great idea. So I had a backup costume. I went as Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill.
Sorry.
Science rules. And I had, a blue, and the blue lab coat. I had a red bow tie. He doesn't always wear red, but there's a bow tie. Yeah. And I tried to do my hair up like this. It didn't really work.
But it's quite difficult.
People got it. They got what I was going for.
Yeah, I saw you come into work, and Bill Nye, immediately jumped out at me.
Yeah, I ended up using that same, because, I think it was a classy enough costume to get with wearing to a wedding, a Halloween-themed wedding. I felt it was a classy enough costume to wear to work, because I did have to work that night. And we were going to go as a PBS educational hour theme, because I was, Miss Frizzle PBS show, Magic School Bus. So Bill Nye, fortunately, again, ended up just being myself in costume for Halloween. So while I was nerding out about Halloween, I wanted to do a bunch of stuff for it. Unfortunately, it ended up being a little more out than nerd. We didn't really get to do a lot of Halloween this year. How about you, man? What do you do for Halloween?
I also worked. The only big Halloween thing I did was a bunch of my friends. We have an annual Halloween party, and we did that.
Nice.
I did not put very much thought into my costume. I used an old bunny suit that it was a surgical suit that you would wear into surgery for doctors, and I wore that as if to be, a surgeon. But the real thing was the fact that I was wearing a bow tie and a Speedo under there so I could rip it off and do a party boy type of thing.
So you were the surgeon who was actually the male stripper.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
See, it's a costume within a costume.
Exactly.
Very meta.
That was my, most of my Halloween. And then I worked, which, Halloween was pretty fun. We had a good day at work. Our coworkers did the Mystery Incorporated, Fred, Shaggy,
that's right.
Velma.
A lot of our were dressed as the Mystery Incorporated characters from Scooby-Doo. Where are you? The pair of sisters were the mastermind behind the thing. They went as Daphne and Velma. But they brought the accoutrement to turn the coworkers into Fred and Shaggy, and also Scooby. Yeah. Complete with Scooby snacks to hand out.
We did have Scooby snacks.
So yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good moment all.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
So, all in all, not bad time.
So when you go trick-or-treating, what candy are you going to pull out first? What's going to be your go-to candy?
So I don't really have a go-to candy exactly.
Okay.
Growing up, when I was trick-or-treating with my family, we'd bring home our hauls, and we'd kind of do like a candy auction, or more like a candy trade market. We usually use pillowcases, so you could hold more. Yeah. And we'd dump our pillowcases out, and we'd sort it into our must-haves. For me, that was pretty much most anything chocolate. Okay. And then we would have like our up for grabs pile, and we would barter with each other. Be like, hey, I love chocolate, but I'm not a big Nugent guy.
Y'all did this much more civilized than me and my family.
So, like Milky Ways, I would usually put into the pile. Yeah. And Tootsie Rolls, couldn't stand them. I put those in. Yeah. I love Tootsie Rolls. Tootsie Rolls. So those would go in the pile, but I know that people like those. That's why that was my marketing joke. Yeah. So we would be like, hey,
Tootsie Rolls, Tootsie Pops. Oh man.
Yeah. I like sour candy, so someone would be like, I have some Warheads. I have some sour gummies. Those would and I'd be like, yo, I got Milky Way. That's chocolate, baby. That's the most important level, so I could get my way into some sour candies, So we'd do some wheeling and dealing, man. Okay. What did you guys do?
So me, I'm much more of like a fruit candy type of person. You sound a lot more like my brother. My brother is a chocolate guy.
Yeah, definitely a chocolate guy.
Definitely all about chocolate, but we always had a competition between me and my brother. When we would go to trick-or-treating, we would always go to different places after, we kind of split off, and we would weigh our candy bags after to see who had the better haul.
Oh, nice. So like who's got the fatter hog for the slaughter.
Exactly. But, we were not very civilized in trading candy, but, I mean, for the most part, the candies that I didn't like, my brother liked. He's a big Butterfinger guy, which,
dude. I'm a huge Butterfinger fan, man.
He would steal all my Butterfingers and Snickers. Those were like his. So I would kind of let that happen. But yeah, we kind of, did a little trade of our own, which, he would get some things and I would take, a lot of his like, Sweet Tarts or Smarties, and those are my things. Sweet Tarts are probably my favorite candy. And if he ever had a Baby Ruth or a Payday, those are mine. He's not getting to keep those. Doesn't matter. But that was how Halloween in my household would usually go. We'd have our own little competition, and then for the rest of the time we'd just go through it. And we weren't very picky about candy.
No, so. Yeah, you're still a kid. You got candy when you got candy, and you had it.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, I'm not a big Tootsie Roll guy, but I'd still eat them if I had them.
Yeah. You know, those are gonna be the ones you save for last because you know you don't like them as much, but still, you're gonna eat them.
Mm-hmm.
That was our Halloween in my household. It was good.
Today, this year I didn't even buy any candy because what tended to happen as an adult is I'd buy a bag of candy and I'd
eat it.
And I'd be home and I'd wait to pass it out. And I got like 5-6 kids all night long.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived primarily in apartments as an adult on my own. But even when I was living out of my parents' basement, I would help them with trick-or-treating at their house. It was barely anyone would come by. And then we'd end up with just candy for days. And we'd just eat all this candy. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need the diabetes that bad.
Yeah.
So I just rely on the fact that most places I end up going will have candy anyway. So
yeah.
Let's grab a little something. A little something for the sweet tooth. Any Halloween traditions you guys have? I know a lot of people like to watch movies when they come home.
See, horror and, you know, spooky themed movies were not very big in my house. My brother liked them, and me as a kid, I hated scary movies. I was not into horror, but we would always watch Hocus Pocus. Don't Look Under the Bed. That was one of my favorite, like, you know, kind of scary.
Never heard of that one.
What? The Disney movie Don't Look Under the Bed? With the boogeyman. He was like the imaginary friend who turns into a boogeyman. Oh man, you gotta watch that. That's one of the classics. That's one of the classics.
Apparently I missed a lot of the classics.
But I mean, more into, you know, my adult life, started to get more into horror movies, and we would definitely have our, like, you know, Friday night, you know, C-rate horror movie nights where we're just watching a bad movies. It was great.
Yeah, you gotta watch those. You got to do your own Mystery Science Theater type scenario.
Yeah, so we would, you know, do that and, you know, just watch a bunch of horror movies that. Yeah.
My cousins were really big into horror movies.
Okay.
So leading up to Halloween, we would oftentimes spend time over at their place, and usually unbeknownst to my parents, we would watch things like Night of the Living Dead or Halloween or Friday the 13th, and we'd watch all these like R-rated. They really liked zombie movies and slasher movies, so we'd watch a lot of zombie movies and a lot of slasher movies. I'm not actually huge fans of either genre. I find them largely played out.
Oh, of course.
But a lot of the OG slasher and zombie movies, they do hold up.
Yeah,
and they definitely informed a lot of my movie tastes for a little while.
Yeah, like the original, you know, Friday the 13th and, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like,
Nightmare on Elm Street, that's a Wes Craven classic.
Great films that will always stand the test of time for, you know, the horror genre.
Yeah.
But in terms of, you know, the horror genre, especially now, I think it's a lot more about thrillers and, you know, things that really, like, get into you rather than slasher films.
The ones I prefer are psychological thrillers. I've even as a kid though, I tended to prefer psychological thrillers that really made you think or got under your skin more so than like gore porn type stuff. And
that was me in the movie 1408.
Today, the modern horror movies tend to be just hyper obsessed with jump scares. Yeah. The only thing they care about is jump scares. But they also tend to have loud, jangly, mechanical noises going
to make it, you know, so this is the time you're supposed to be scared.
Yeah, but what it really does is it just telegraphs that there's something happening now. Yeah. Because the sound usually happens slightly before the effect. And it's like, oh, okay, thanks for reminding me I should be scared here. Yeah. Instead of doing like a quiet build-up or a subtle dropping of tension before the moment. And I feel like that's a lost art. When it came to Halloween itself with my parents, they didn't really like us watching R-rated movies very often. They also weren't into slasher movies or zombie movies. But we would like to watch, usually on TV, but we'd watch a lot of the classic kind of Universal horror monsters. The old
Wolfman,
Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, the Bela Lugosi Dracula, the Wolfman. Yeah. The one Creature of the Black Lagoon, one we never ended up seeing was The Mummy for some reason. It never really came on.
Really? I watched The Mummy
I think I had seen some of the Mummy sequels.
Yeah.
But I never saw the original Boris Karloff Mummy.
Yeah.
Until way later in life.
Yeah, I watched that when I was a kid, very, very young.
Yeah, so that's what I grew up with.
Okay. I mean, that sounds pretty similar to me. Like,
Yeah.
my family was not very into horror movies, which I came to find out. My mom hates horror movies, but she loves zombie flicks. That's how we got into The Walking Dead. She loves Night of the Living Dead, all those movies.
Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead,
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I saw all of that.
I saw all those. But Sam, when we got married, before we got married, rather, when we were dating, she had grown up with this sort of Halloween family classics.
Yeah.
And that would be some movies I adore and I'm familiar with, like Night Before Christmas is obviously one.
Mm-hmm.
Beetlejuice
of
is
course,
one of my favorites. But she would also, she would watch the one with the Drop Dead Fred. It's not really a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
That was one she was really into. She watched the one with Howie Mandel, where he played a monster. I'm trying to remember what that one's called. She probably saw Don't Peek Under the Bed.
I'm positive she probably
and
has.
she definitely watched Hocus Pocus all the time.
Of course.
Because
that's just the classic. You have to. If you gotta watch Hocus Pocus.
I never watched it as a kid.
Really?
It came out in 1993, so I was already 6 years old. So I wasn't like super young. I'm not like old. That's 6, but I'm like not crazy young.
Yeah.
And so we didn't catch it in theaters. Of course, a lot of people didn't catch it in theaters because it turns out it came out in July.
Yeah.
Up against Jurassic Park, and we did watch Jurassic Park in theaters. So it's like, what are we going to watch? This movie about rad dinosaurs, or this movie about a bunch of derpy witches for some reason coming out in summer?
Yeah.
So of course we chose the rad dinosaurs, but the movie itself wasn't a big success in theater, but it went on to become like a cult classic. And so she was like, "Whoa, you never saw this?" I was like, "We gotta watch this." So we watched it for the first time 3 or 4 Halloweens ago. I saw it for the first time, and she's like, "Wow, what do you think?" And I'm like, it's okay. And she's like, "Well, that's it." I'm like, "Yeah, I feel like it's because it's just so tonally dissonant, and the witches are just so derpy."
Yeah.
I honestly do not like them being on screen. I don't like them. I think the Sanderson sisters are bad characters. They're poorly acted. And there's actually a lot I like about the movie. I just the central antagonists I just can't stand.
And I can understand that for witches, for someone who's as terrifying as they're supposed to be. They're very derpy. It's just like you got foiled by a kid, his would-be girlfriend, and his little sister.
Yeah.
And a cat.
And a magical cat man.
Yeah.
With terrible CG mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that being said, I see why it was a cult classic. I see why she liked it. And there's actually a bit of trivia in regards to that movie. Hocus Pocus made a bogus fact within their film.
Yes. We were talking about this.
We will keep that for the halftime because that will be our trivia of the day.
Yeah.
But right now, I think we're pretty much wrapped up on Halloween, and it's time to unwrap that World Series. World Series, Games 6 and 7. We're going to start with Game 6 real quick. I know this is ancient news for a lot of people, but hey, you're here to listen to us. Hopefully. Please. And I have a question for Gonzo.
What's that?
What did I say we had to do, and by we I mean the Nationals, to win?
Trey Turner has to get on base his first at-bat. If he gets a hit and gets on base first at-bat, we're undefeated.
Yeah,
so far.
What did we do in Game 6?
In Game 6, that's exactly what happened. His first at-bat, he gets to first base, and we had a great game. Which I still believe that game was lost because the Astros took out Justin Verlander a little bit prematurely. I feel he should have finished out the inning. He was at quite a high pitch count. He was getting to 100.
He was at 100 or very close to it.
Yeah, but we got the run off him, which is a solo home run, and they took him out immediately after with 2 more outs left. I think
Yeah.
he could have thrown for those 2 outs.
That's true, because again, they didn't put up Presley, but the next 2 relievers they put up let us get 2 more runs.
The second he came out, we just rolled over the Astros.
That's
crazy.
true. That's true. I think that game had far more to do with Steven Strasburg going 8 innings, allowing only the 2 runs in the beginning, and just shutting them down.
Yes, Steven Strasburg did absolutely phenomenal. He was the ace of that game.
Spoiler alert, there's a reason why he won the World Series MVP, because they won both his starts, and he was so good in both of them.
He was undefeated in the playoffs.
In playoffs, 6-0. Yeah, 6-0 record in the playoffs.
Which is phenomenal. That's crazy.
Has that happened before? Probably should look that up.
Another thing that hasn't happened for, if we want to jump into Game 7.
Yeah, you know what? Game 6 was not that exciting, other than Strasburg being dominant. We'll talk about Game 7, because guess what didn't happen?
Trey Turner did not get on base his first at-bat in Game 7, and I was very kind of worried.
I know. We were working together, and that happened, and I pointed to him like, oh no, man. Oh no, this isn't good.
Yeah.
And Zach Greinke was cruising.
Yes.
He looked like Strasburg did the game
really
before.
Good.
He was cruising through our batting order. While Scherzer he wasn't like falling apart at the seams, but he was taking an average of like 20 pitches to get through an inning. Greinke was taking like 11.
Yeah. And
he had 2 runs allowed or 3 runs allowed?
Scherzer had 2 runs allowed.
2 runs allowed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the problem with you're right. It was 2 runs because they were 2-0 for most. Because again, he gave up 2 runs early, which had been the modus operandi of the Nats pitchers, was to give up 2 runs early. Not always in the first inning, but usually in the first inning.
Yeah.
And then hold on. And he did hold on. But again, his pitch count was getting real high, real fast.
Yes.
And Greinke looked in control the entire time. But you know what? They had made history by winning Game 6, the Nationals did, which meant that for the first time in all pro sports in the United States that play in a best-of-7 series, any best-of-7 series, that was the first time the away team had won all 6 of the first games.
Yeah.
Well, they're about to break that record too.
Yeah.
Because the away team won all 7 games of the World Series, including our Nationals, your Nationals especially, taking home the championship. So Trey Turner did not get
He did not.
What was the key to the Nationals' victory in that game?
The key to the Nationals' victory was the first solo home run, which got Greinke taken out.
That was Adam Eaton had a solo home run.
Yes, Adam Eaton, and then right after that,
he walked
someone, and then Juan Soto hit a double.
Anthony Rendon is after him.
Yes, Anthony Rendon
he walked Anthony,
and then Juan Soto hit a 2-run
homer on the reliever. Yeah.
Yes.
So the other key was to get Greinke out early, and they kind of did. This was the 6th or 7th inning.
I want to say it was 6.
I believe it was the 6th inning because he's taking an average of 11 pitches.
Because 7th inning is when we started to
That's when they
come back.
Piling it on. Start piling it on. So they pull Greinke. They put in a reliever. Was it Brad Peacock? I don't think it was Brad Peacock. But the reliever they put in immediately gave up a 2-run home run.
Yeah. Actually, excuse me. It was not Juan Soto. It was Howie Kendrick who got the.
It was Kendrick.
It was Howie Kendrick who got the.
Howie Kendrick was the hero of
yes.
the NLDS, getting the grand slam against the Dodgers.
Yep.
He had played very poorly before that grand slam became the hero. He had played pretty poorly throughout the World Series before getting that home run.
It's just these clutch moments that he just finds it. We gotta go.
Apparently, he is Mr. Clutch. I think in order to make love to the wife, he needs her to deliver divorce papers first. Because only in those clutch do or die situations can he perform. Apparently.
He does something great. Yeah.
Yeah, Howie Kendrick hit the home run. But the mistake the Nats got, I said the Nats have to get to Greinke and get him pulled early. But the thing is, I think this is on AJ Hinch.
Okay.
I think if he did not pull Greinke that, he was only at 80 pitches. And I have been watching him pitch for several years in the NL West, with both as a member of the Dodgers and as a member of the Diamondbacks. And I've seen him get out of way bigger jams than that. I think he cost them that series by pulling him and putting in relievers that weren't ready. He also had Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole had been scorching his last game against the Nats. He shut us down completely.
And then they almost put him in late.
They had him warm up, and then they kept Greinke in one more inning, and then he had to cool back off, and then they warmed up the regular relievers. If they were going to pull one of their three aces, they should have put in the other ace. Yeah.
Which also you're saying, that's one reason. I also believe a little bit of is on Alex Bregman from Game 6. Whenever he hits his home run, he walks to first base. Walks to first base with his bat, which
he tried to pass it off to the first base coach. The first base coach was so baffled what was going on, he just let it drop. Yeah.
Yep. And he didn't understand, but he did that, and then Juan Soto comes back and hits his run, and he takes his bat to the first base, which personally, and another thing I've been watching, he should have taken it all the way around just to show up Alex Bregman, and I believe that little kind of insult really lit a fire under the Nats.
Inspired the Nats. It definitely inspired the Nats, and more importantly, it angered the baseball gods.
Yeah,
you can't anger the baseball gods.
No,
you can't. You there's unwritten rules of every game. And I understand changing, occasional bat flip here or there.
Yeah.
I understand bending the rules a bit for the sake of entertainment, but
taking it to first base.
Showboating? That's just showboating.
That was a lot.
That's how
that was a lot. And as you're watching it, you're just like, oh, really? Is this what he's doing? And I feel like that was the whole Nats dugout whenever they saw it. Was like, okay, now we gotta win this because we gotta show you up for that little thing.
You know what the gantry serves on a showboat?
What's that?
Humble pie. Yeah,
they got a little bit of humble pie. They got a lot of humble pie for the next two games.
Yep.
Honestly, Game 7, I didn't think we were gonna do it.
I thought Houston was gonna pull out after all. Again, Trey Turner didn't get on, and he had been the good luck symbol essentially for the Nats the entire postseason. Greinke was cruising through the lineup. He had one inning where he got all three outs in only 6 pitches. They just looked like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, they're really looking good.
But it fell off, and you could tell after inning 7 where the Nats took like a 3-4 run lead.
Yeah, it was like 4-2 at the end.
They were done.
Yeah,
you could tell that the Houston Astros were done.
Yeah, they tried their hardest, but I feel like everything they had was already spent.
Yeah, sometimes.
And then the Nats were we were just together. They came out and they did it.
They had been the best team in baseball since the All-Star break, and they maintained being the best team in baseball.
And before the All-Star break, they were not looking good. We did not think they were going to get into the playoffs.
No, bad, very bad.
And then go on a streak, and then since then
they got the best. Hot. A lot of people stepped up. They learned how to play as a team. They made some crucial trades to strengthen their bullpen. Yeah, because that bullpen was bad.
Was very weak, and that's what really sang home to bring us the World Series. You have Steven Strasburg being an ace. Max Scherzer who was doing great things. He looked phenomenal
this was his best postseason because he was like Kershaw or Justin Verlander for that matter in the regular season and the first few stages of the postseason. Awesome, always looks awesome. When they get to the World Series, all three of those guys majorly struggled. Yeah, and Scherzer definitely struggled some. He did. Again, he kept the runs low, just 2 runs each time, but his pitch count was really high both times. We had to rely on the bullpen more than they would have liked, but because we were able to rotate in some of our starters in the bullpen, we were able to get a clean inning in both Scherzer's games. I believe we were able to get clean innings out of what's his name?
Strasburg and Scherzer.
No, the other starters.
Corbin.
Corbin and Sanchez.
Yeah.
We were able to get clean innings of Corbin and Sanchez, which obviously meant that we didn't have to rely on the weaker middle portion of the bullpen. Yeah. We were able to go into these stronger bits.
Our closers, Rodney came out, did pretty well.
Rodney had some good innings. And then, of course, the pre-trade deadline closer, Sean Doolittle, had some very good innings.
And I will get into a quote about Sean Doolittle a little bit later.
Post-trade deadline closer Daniel Hudson also had some great innings. So by having the starters be able to fill in for the middle portion of the bullpen, it was able to save our best bullpen guys for when we needed them.
And that's what we needed. We needed to strengthen our bullpen to go all the way, and we did.
Yeah, and they got to hoist the trophy.
And speaking of trophy, and in pure Washington form with
pure Washington DC form.
Yes.
Yeah. They saw what the Capitals did, and they
had to step it up, and so they won Game 7 on what, the 30th?
Yes,
the 30th.
Wednesday.
And by Halloween, this is a exact quote from Sean Doolittle that he tweeted. A little bit of World Series trophy facts and reviews. It is very, very shiny. It is hard to drink from, and yes, they did try. It is impossible to eat cereal from. It is a lot heavier than it looks. It can be worn as a hat. It is still in one piece, barely. And says 2019 World Champs on it, is back in DC, and we can't wait to share it with you. That's an exact quote. But before the parade on Saturday, 2 flags had been bent and 3 had been completely taken off. So before our parade, we did break the World Series trophy in pure Washington, D.C. form.
Yeah, you said they had to fly someone in from Tiffany's to fix it?
Yes, Tiffany & Co. had to, because it was made by Tiffany & Co. and takes about 3 months to make, they had to fly someone in to a silversmith to fix it and rework it so that it will be ready and in perfect shape for Saturday's parade. And yeah, that's exactly what they had to do. So yeah, two different championship trophies in DC that both got broken.
Both got scuffed up. Yeah, I know the NHL actually had to institute new championship celebration rules.
Yes, they did.
Because of how over the top the Capitals had taken it.
Shout out to Alex Ovechkin. Good job, buddy.
Oh yeah, good old Ovi. And we had mentioned while we were doing prep for the show, it seems like the Capitals and Nationals, as franchises, as teams, as players, really get along.
They really do. They both go to each other's games. The Nats took the World Series trophy to the Caps Stadium, just as the Caps took the Stanley Cup to the Nats Stadium. Yeah. And had a whole celebration there. And I think I like it because, you got a player like Alex Ovechkin, who's been a Caps player since, he started his career.
Oh, his entire NHL career.
Same with Ryan Zimmerman.
They have MLB career.
And they finally, both got their trophies. They're good players out the gate, and everyone was like, yeah, this person's going to bring home a trophy to the city. And they did. Oh, yeah. And I feel like they really enjoyed that moment. They took a picture, and they're right next to each other. And then, of course, Adam Eaton going into the locker room and pulling the Caps, shoves his jersey over his head and chugs a beer through it, just to show solidarity for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for two franchises, crossing sports, they're very, very good to each other. And
it's nice to see that kind of camaraderie.
Yeah. Because
I'll tell you what, none of them are hanging out with the Redskins.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Landover, where's that?
Exactly.
Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah, getting into a little bit more baseball things. So next season for the Nats is going to be kind of weird because we have, 7 players about to hit free agency. Anthony Rendon, Steven Strasburg, Ryan Zimmerman, Jan Gomes, Adams, Dozier, and Howie Kendrick are all free agents right now.
Yep.
And not all of them have really signed. Steven Strasburg opted out of his contract. Anthony Rendon has turned down the offer so far that he has gotten.
Yeah, they gave him a 7-year
It was like I think it was like 210.
No,
215, something like that.
Yeah, it was like 7 year 210.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
and Strasburg had 4 year and 4 years and about what 100 million left, something like that.
Yeah, Anthony Rendon 7 year 215 million deal declined.
Yeah. So he was an MVP candidate. Strasburg obviously was the World Series MVP. I know they like to bring back several of the other free agents, but it really depends on what happens with these guys.
Yeah, it depends on the big two. Steven Strasburg and Anthony Rendon.
Now,
if they can get those two back, probably a couple people off this other free agency list are not going to be there.
No,
which is sad, but it's business at the same.
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
And the thing with the MLB is they have a luxury tax like the NBA does, but they do not have a hard salary cap.
Yeah.
And the Nets made estimated like $1 billion or something like that off of the World Series.
Yeah.
So they can afford them.
Mm-hmm.
If they really wanted to, they can afford them. The real question is, do they want to be also paying luxury tax for the foreseeable future?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the sort of ranking, though, way too early to tell rankings, they have the Nats in sort of the bottom tier of the potential playoff teams, just because most of the other playoff teams have their best players still locked down, or have kind of sent out strong feelers to some of the premier free agents. Yeah. With the Nats, it's a big question mark.
Yeah,
they lose those two guys.
It's fair right now.
They lose those two guys, and again, it looks like the best they might do is wild card. Mm-hmm. But hey, maybe that's all you need to be.
Yeah, hopefully.
Sometimes you can win it all.
Yep.
Well, we're going to take a quick halftime break, and then we're going to kind of come back, and we're going to talk about the local flavor. Especially, we just obviously talked about DC sports a lot, but there's a lot of interesting sports news coming out of the desert also. It's halftime, and halftime is sponsor time. Today's episode is sponsored by Green Roots Gaming. You can find them at twitch.tv/greenrootsgaming. Fine purveyors of electronic entertainment. For when you have time to watch a game, but maybe not play it. I'm also bringing you this week's trivia question. Earlier in the episode, we had mentioned that there was a Hocus Pocus bogus fact. In the movie, the curse that the Sanderson sisters say will bring them back to life if a virgin lights the black flame candle on All Hallows Eve with a round moon. A round moon is modernly used to interpret as a full moon. The date given in the movie is October 31st, 1993, which did not have a full moon in real life. The first person in the comments to name one of the 3 closest dates where October 31st had a full moon earns a shout out in next week's episode. If you get all 3 dates correct, you earn an extra special shout out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. And now, on with the show.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the local flavor in DC. How's the local flavor going out in the desert, out in Arizona, Mr. Green?
Well, we've got a lot of updates for Arizona sports fans. The Arizona Cardinals are continuing their rookie tandem of Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, and they almost took it to the 49ers. We actually proved the biggest challenge for them so far, which is a big step up from last week's pretty bad performance against the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
We ended up losing a 3-point game, but we could have came away with the win. Just like I could have came away with that sentence a little easier. At the end of the first half, the 49ers went for it on 4th down, and we stuffed and got the ball back on downs. We were down by 1 score, but keeping it a 1-score game. However, Cliff Kingsbury had called a timeout because he didn't like the look he saw from their offense, which nullified that play. And on the following play, they got Jimmy Garoppolo threw his 3rd touchdown pass out of 4 of the day, and they went into the second half up 2 scores.
That was one of his career games.
Yeah. So, kind of a head coach mistake. It's easy to grill him after the fact, but you can see where he was coming from, I think.
Yeah.
Problem was, we weren't getting a lot of stops all game, so I don't know. I'm up in the air about that. It is encouraging to see us make progress, though, get better. For the most part, week in, week out, really that Saints game was the exception, but we also had a bunch of injuries.
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake came in. We had traded for him. And if you picked him up in fantasy, you were treated to a hell of a game because he went off.
Yes.
Over 100 yards rushing, got 2 touchdowns, just had a stellar performance. Kyler Murray had a really good performance as well, and he got a hookup with wide receiver Andy Isabella, who we picked up with the second-round pick we got from the Josh Rosen trade. And he had an 80-yard touchdown catch, mostly yards after catch. It was a real thing of beauty, and like I said, we were holding in there against an unbeaten team, the cream of the NFC right now.
Yeah.
So Cardinals looking up. The Coyotes, I personally still have yet to catch a Coyotes game this season. It's kind of hard to watch them out here. They don't pop up very often, and they don't pop up on NHL Network or the other channel that shows on a regular basis, Comcast Sportsnet or whatever it is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They don't pop up very often there, so I don't think I can watch them that often. But I did, as of last week, I followed up with some information. They're actually top 5 in every major defensive category in the NHL.
Ooh.
So, like a lot of teams in the desert, they tend to have good defenses. Now they're scoring, so we might be getting in there. The only problem is they're in the Pacific Division, and that division is stacked. We're only the 4th best team right now, and we have a solid winning record. So we'll see. We'll see where that shakes out. But again, upward trend. And speaking of upward trends, the Phoenix Suns.
Yes, I did see their highlights. They're on the up and up.
Yeah, they look like a legit NBA basketball team.
Yes.
Which is a huge step up from the last several years. Not only that, but they are now 6-2, and their only 2 losses have gone by a combined 2 points. So they lost each game by only 1 point. That's to the Denver Nuggets, who are one of the NBA's Western Conference darlings right now, and to the Utah Jazz, which have been a strong competitive team for years. So we beat the Clippers, obviously without Paul George, but still beating the Clippers with reigning NBA Finals MVP Kawhi Leonard. That's a hell of an accomplishment.
Yeah.
We just beat the Philadelphia 76ers. Again, they're missing Joel Embiid, but we're also missing DeAndre Ayton. So we're missing our star center as well.
Yeah.
And we're the first team to actually beat the 76ers this season. So,
which, that's something to be accomplished.
Yeah. I think this might be Devin Booker's finally long-awaited All-Star debut. He got a 40-point game on something like 75% shooting in that game. He really took over in the fourth quarter after Al Horford played like a man possessed. He was amazing in that game. But Booker ended up being better at the end of the day, and he really took over the fourth quarter and got that Suns offense alive.
Yeah.
Exciting games of basketball.
Yes,
so.
they've been pretty great as of late. You know.
Yeah, I'm
all,
really
all around the board for the NBA.
It looked like the hiring of Monty Williams really. He's never had an amazing record everywhere he goes, but he also usually hasn't had a great cast either to work with. So I think now that he's here with some, the problem hasn't been. Well, one of the problems has been talent for Phoenix, but the problem hasn't exclusively been talent. It's been how to manage them. So I think he came in and he saw a lot of young talent rounding in the form, and now they're playing like they belong in this league.
Yeah.
Kelly Oubre Jr. Is playing like he might get his first All-Star bid also. And I can tell you what, the Wizards must be hating that.
Yeah.
They traded him for peanuts. And, wow. I mean, the Wizards are actually playing all right, though.
Yeah, they're playing pretty okay. You know, we just got the acquisition of Bradley Beal, I believe. And, Yeah, the Wizards are playing good, and I didn't get to talk too much about what the Caps are doing, but the Caps, I believe, the last time I looked, were the best team in the NHL, and also have 9 players right now with multiple scoring games.
They had a bit of a shaky start to the season, but they have rung off several wins in a row.
Yeah,
and they look like they're here to make some noise in the Metropolitan Division.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what the Caps are going to do the rest of the season.
Yeah, maybe it be inspired by the Nats to.
Oh, definitely
get that second Stanley Cup in 3 years.
When you see another major trophy come into your place, you're just like, okay, you're just like, okay, we got to go get another one. We got to go do it.
Yep. Right on, man. Well, like I said, really looking forward to the Phoenix Suns. Looking forward to the Caps. I want to catch some Coyotes. Hopefully soon. I got a online radio subscription, so I've been listening to a lot of the West Coast games. So I'm tuning into them when I get the chance. But you know what? I think that's all we gotta say about that. Let's get into some fantasy.
Oh, yes.
All right, it's fantasy football time. As the regular listeners have known, we have a game between us called Start, Sit, Swap, where we pick a fantasy football player to start, and if they get 15 plus ESPN PPR points, we get a point. We pick a player to sit. If they don't get 10 plus PPR points, we get a point. We pick a player to swap, who has to be able to swap in for the player we're sitting, so either the same position or the flex if a flex eligible player, and if they get at least 10 plus PPR points, we get a point for that. So, we missed week 8, but week 7, I said to start Josh Allen. I boldly predicted to get over 20 points. He didn't. He got 17, but that's over the 15 I needed, so I got a point for that. I said to sit Alshon Jeffrey. He got 10.4, just barely getting enough to hurt me. And I said to swap in Marvin Jones Jr., who had a pretty dire game. Now, last week he had an amazing game, but the week where it counted, pretty bad. So I only got 1 point out of that. How'd you fare week 7, Gonzo?
Week 7 was pretty good for me. Matthew Stafford got his plus. He had a pretty good game. Nick Chubb, which I still feel I kind of should have gotten a point for this because he didn't. He just barely made his 10-point requisite that keeps me out of the point.
Also like 10.4 or 5, like.
But also he really just, to me, he just did not have a good game.
No,
he had two fumbles. He was getting beat up by the New England defense. So I don't know. I say, but I'll let that one go. And then of course my swap Saquon had a phenomenal game. Had like 26 points, which is expected of Saquon. So it was a pretty safe bet for me. So I think I did okay. I got my 2 points for this week.
So all said, I'm currently at 3 points. You're currently at 2 points.
Yep.
Week 9. This is maybe I can pull away. I'm saying start Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram
solid choice.
Is only projected for 11 points, but
it's not going to happen.
Beaten that almost every game. The only game he didn't beat that was the game where he got hurt. He had an excellent game against a stout New England defense last week. He had an amazing game. The last game he played before that. He was on bye for week 8, so nothing counted there. But again, he had a bye. He got healthy. He showed he was healthy against New England. I say start Mark Ingram. I think he's going to overperform that 11 points.
Yeah.
I say sit Tariq Cohen. Tariq Cohen is also projected for about. Last I checked, about 11 points. It may have gone a little lower since then, but I was like, Tariq Cohen projected for roughly the same as Mark Ingram? Not happening. He's had 2 bad games in a row. I'm sure he might have an explosive game, but it's clear at this point that they've finally turned things over to David Montgomery. He's coming off of 2 very strong games in a row. Mitch Trubisky is he's not looking good. And since so much Tariq Cohen relies on the passing game, I say sit him. Since he was probably going to be a flex anyway, I'm going to say swap in Zach Pascal. Zach Pascal has been on and off every other week. He's had a great week. He's had a forgettable week. You had a great week, you had a forgettable week. But last week was pretty good. You think Follow the Trend is going to be forgettable this time? I don't know. He's playing with Hoyer. Hoyer was looking to him the whole game. So I think if Brian Hoyer's still playing again, I think Pascal gets in there. Even if it's not, and they go back to Jacoby Brissett's ready to go, I don't know. I have a good feeling about this. I think Zach Pascal has 2 good games in a row for the first time this year. What about you, Gonzo?
I'm going to say start Devin Singletary. I feel like he's going to have a good game running back of the Bills.
He's definitely taken over that lead spot from Frank.
Yeah. And last game, played the Redskins. He had a pretty decent game, so I expect him to keep it going. And then I'm going to sit Golden Tate, which, kind of makes me unhappy because last night he had one of the most phenomenal catches I've ever seen against the Dallas Cowboys. One hand up in the air, getting pushed out, and still gets to, tap his feet down.
I missed that game, but Gonzo was like, you gotta watch this highlight.
It was
and I'm
great.
glad I did. I normally watch the highlights. I haven't gotten to that one yet, but oh boy, that catch.
Yeah, it was a great catch, but I don't believe he's going to do it again. The Giants are playing the Jets this week. Not a great team, but still, I don't think it's going to come back.
I think Adam Gase's squad is falling apart, to be honest.
Yeah, but also I think Daniel Jones is also kind of falling apart.
Yeah, he's definitely a rookie. He's definitely looking like a rookie.
Yeah, and then
fair enough.
To swap for Golden Tate, I'm going to say start Mark Andrews. The Baltimore Ravens just beat the Patriots. Knocked their undefeated streak. It was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. And even though Mark Andrews didn't have a great game last week by himself, they played well, and I feel like he's going to ride that high, and he's really going to
He made a lot of clutch catches.
Yeah.
And if they look
he made clutch catches, but he only made those couple of clutch catches. He only had 4 points, last week. But I think
But he did get into the end zone.
Yeah.
And if he gets into the end zone, he makes his points.
Yeah, and no, I think that he's going to do that this week. Mark Andrews needs to have kind of a bounce back game. He's been doing pretty well and pretty consistently well with 13, 15 and above.
Yeah. So per our rules, he would be going to the flex. So you're saying run 2 tight ends, one in the tight end spot, one in the flex?
Yes, I will say run 2 tight ends, and that's
it's a
not
bold move, Cotton.
It's not something I would honestly do.
But that being said, bye week is brutal this week.
Yes.
And I know Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are both on bye from Philly, so you're already kind of lacking some tight end depth.
Yeah.
So if I can see it. I can see you running 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
Simply because there's a lot of the normal tight ends are gone on bye, and a lot of the wide receivers you would look for are on bye.
Yeah.
So
honestly, tight end play hasn't been great as of this year. Point wise,
it's very TD dependent.
Yeah, but right now I have 2 very good tight ends. I have Mark Andrews and Evan Ingram, so I'm gonna play both of them and see how it goes, and then we'll see if you can pull out this win this week.
That's right.
While I'm going through my bye week hell,
we are playing each other week 1 of our preseason season that we have branded it. We're also playing against each other. So now it's the rematch.
Yep.
You got the best of me last time, but you know what? I have a lot of injured guys.
Yep.
They're back. They're healthy. And you got a lot of guys on bye.
Yes,
so,
I believe 6 people on bye this week.
I think you had 6 starters on bye,
including both of my starting quarterback and my bench quarterback. So
that was a poor roster decision on your part.
It's okay. I think I can still make the playoffs this way.
Yeah, you are in the not in the lead, but you're close. So I think I'm gunning for you though, man.
I appreciate that.
All right, well we'll see how it turns out next week.
Yeah. What's that? I think I hear a whistle, Green.
You do, Gonzo. Oh, that means our show's over. Well, it's been a pleasure, everybody. You can find me at Twitter at Tastefully Nerd, and you can find the show on Facebook at Tastefully Nerd.
And I've been Gonzo. You can find me at Twitter at They Call Me Malu, Maluu. You can also find me on Facebook at Tastefully Nerd with Green.
And again, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Game off.